Welcome to the Regenerative Brands podcast. This is a place for consumers, operators, and investors to learn about the consumer brands supporting regenerative agriculture and how they're changing the world. This is your host, Kyle, joined by my co-host, AC, who's going to take us into the episode.
On this episode, we have Ashley Walsh, who is the founder and president of Pocono Organics. Pocono Organics is supporting regenerative agriculture with their 380-acre Regenerative Organic Certified farm, producing fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, microgreens, and a myriad of hemp-based CPG products. In this episode, we learn about Ashley's journey with gastroparesis that inspired the farm, their journey at the farm into the myriad of enterprises they are running on site, and their growing CBD-infused CPG lineup that they are currently scaling. We touched it all on this one, folks, from CBD-infused marshmallows to on-farm regenerative research trials to NASCAR fans buying more regenerative products. We learned and laughed a lot, and we hope you will too. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Regen Brands podcast. Super fired up today to have our friend Ashley from Pocono Organics joining us. So welcome, Ashley.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Super pumped. I was lucky enough to connect with some members of you and your team a few months back to talk about some B2B stuff. I didn't even realize at the time how much branded product Pocono had. So I'm really excited to kind of dig in and learn more and share that story with our audience. But before we get too deep into the origin story, give us a quick high level, like what sort of products does Pocono Organics produce? Where can people find your stuff? And you can talk about the branded side and just like the general farm vegetables and the farm stand. Like just give us the whole lay of the land real quick.
Absolutely. So we're a very diverse brand. You know, we have a lot of different vegetables and herbs that we sell to local stores and restaurants. But our big national side product line is all of our CBD products. So everything from topicals to crazy edible infusions made by Chef Lindsay McLean, who runs our food innovation lab. And we do a lot of fun stuff on site. We do all of our formulation here. So we get to try out different recipes that we want to play around with. We make them and we sell them at our market to see how the public likes it. And if they do, then we go national with them from there. So it's a good little test market that we have here on site to see what people like. But everything from seltzers and gummies and nanoparticle homemade marshmallows, the topicals, and then our flagship product line is the nanoparticle collection. So we have a tincture, a nanoparticle bath bomb, as well as a monk fruit infused sugar that could be added to coffee, smoothies, mocktails, things like that. And that's definitely been our most successful product line is the nanoparticle.
Wow. Super cool. But before we go any further, we have to talk about the marshmallow.
I knew this was coming.
Yeah. Anthony and I both got, Ashley was kind enough to send us a little care package prior to, so we could familiarize ourselves with the brand and the products. Yes. And Anthony and I were texting back and forth. We're like, did you get a marshmallow? And so I've got to understand like why the marshmallow. I was under the impression there must be a bonfire somewhere on site and somebody's making s'mores, and I just need to know whether or not that's like the real story.
So we're in the Pocono Mountains. We're on the plateau of the Pocono Mountains. So lots of campfires all around. So we always sell little s'mores kits with really great organic chocolate and the graham crackers and the stick, everything ready to go. And then we decided to infuse it with the nanoparticle CBD and have an adult version as well. So there's 50 milligrams in that homemade marshmallow. I mean, they're so delicious.
Wow.
I
slept good. Team, I slept good after that marshmallow.
And it hits you so much faster with the nanoparticle. Yeah. Nanoparticle makes it water soluble. So it hits you a lot faster. It doesn't have to go through that digestion. So we have a lot of fun making things like that are different, that people like our regular products. So, hey, let's add CBD to it.
I can't wait to see that in REI one day, eventually. Well, we'll see what happens. AC, go ahead. Kick us off. Take us down the road.
Yeah, no, Ashley definitely knows how to treat her podcast hosts. That was really, really kind. And we appreciate the care package. And, it's really interesting to see all the various things that hemp can be involved in, and y'all are doing even more than hemp, like in the farm operation. But similar to Kyle and I, Ashley, I know this all stems from a health issue that you had, right? So just take us kind of back in time to that personal health journey that you had and how that turned into Pocono Organics.
Absolutely. And it's funny how adversity sometimes can create opportunity, right? And you never imagine that you'll end up where you are down the road. But when I was about 30, I got diagnosed with gastroparesis, which is a paralyzed stomach. So I can't digest a lot of fruits, vegetables, and meats like you guys do. So I have to eat like a toddler, puree, smoothies, juice, soups, all those different forms for me to be able to digest and get my nutrients. I can load up on carbs to make myself feel full, but I need the nutrients in there. So I got to the end of the road. It took me a long time to get diagnosed, and they just wanted to cut out parts of my stomach and give me feeding tubes. Obviously not the path I wanted to go down turning 30. I wanted to start a family and not go down that road. So I started working with new doctors, and I adopted organic lifestyle and just switching over everything in my life, every bite of food I was taking to personal care products, plant-based supplements, everything that I could to just be more non-toxic and reduce the chemical load in my body. And by using food as medicine and reducing my chemical exposure, I improved my quality of life. Like, it was undeniable results that I went from being sick 5 days a week to 5 days a month, and
Incredible.
ended up having like a 9.5 pound baby. I'm like 5 feet tall and 120 pounds. I don't know why the little girls end up having the gigantic babies, but it just changed my whole life. So that was back in like 2015 that we had the concept for the farm. We live in the Pocono Mountains on the plateau of the mountain. It's a food desert here. Most people think of food deserts as inner cities, but rural communities are the same way. We have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to get to a Whole Foods or somewhere with a decent organic selection. So
Ashley, for people that aren't familiar with the Poconos, describe where that is geographically. And a lot of people might be familiar because of the NASCAR race that occurs there, but just tell, like, where is that? It's obviously mountains, it's rural, but describe that a little bit more for people.
So we're about 90 miles west of New York City and 90 miles north of Philadelphia. So I'm sure if you're a Seinfeld fan, you've heard them say we're going to the Poconos for the weekend. So big ski resort towns, a lot of lakes, hiking, just beautiful mountains, and still very pristine and undeveloped. So, but we have one third of the U.S. population lives within a 5-hour drive of us. So there's a lot of people nearby that can get to the Poconos. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
That is wild.
My Pocono story is my mom's side family reunion was there when I was a little kid. So that's my Poconos tie-in, is I've been there for one family reunion one time. Beautiful place.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. And it's great to be up here with fresh air, mountain fresh air. And we don't have a lot of farms around us, so we don't have to worry about drift and a lot of other concerns, which is nice.
So where did the catalyst come from? Personal health journey, changing the lifestyle, to I'm going to start a farm. Like, what was the catalyst there?
So I'm the third generation of our family businesses, and one of those being Pocono Raceway. My family owns Pocono Raceway, so we have a lot of land here around the racetrack, and there's a 50-acre parcel that's sitting here, and I asked them if I could do a small community farm. They gave me their blessing, and I had no idea how to farm at all. So I cold called, no idea at all. I've learned a lot over the last 10 years, but I just cold called Rodale. Rodale Institute is about 45 minutes south of us, and I had been following them through my health journey of really understanding and learning from them of how broken the food system is. When you start scratching that itch and going from, oh, everything in the grocery store is safe, right? Like we all think. And then you start scratching that and you're like, wow, no, it's not at all. Like, what are we doing? And until like something happens to you or a family member, you kind of don't wake up to it. So, so they answered my phone call, Rodale, and we had a meeting, and they listened to my crazy idea and partnered with us. So from day one,
Wow.
we've been a satellite research farm for Rodale. This is our 5th season of research and production. We became a regional resource center for them last year, which is amazing.
Wow.
There's only 5 in the whole world. And we have 2 PhD scientists in an on-site lab, and increased
Wow.
our research projects from 2 or 3 a year to now 12 annual research projects a year.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And
I want,
tell the
I'm-
audience, Ashley, everything you're growing on the farm, all the different commodities.
So we're very, very diverse. So every kind of vegetable and herb really that you can imagine. And then our 3 big specialty programs is hemp, mushrooms, and microgreens. Those are our 3 big specialty programs that we do. But I mean, everything from tomatoes and broccoli to corn in our greenhouses. So we get the first corn of the season,
Wow.
but a little bit of everything, really diverse.
Wow.
And out of curiosity, when did regenerative become a part of the conversation? I would imagine it was when you contacted Rodale and they're like, hey, we want to, were they sort of leading the regenerative charge and educating you on that front? Or like, when did that become part of the conversation?
It was right when we first started talking to them. They kind of started talking about the regenerative organic pilot that was happening with those original 20 farms, where they were doing the pilot to kind of figure out the regulations and guidelines for everyone. So as soon as the pilot was over, I said, hey, I want to be involved, and this is how I want to operate from day one. So from day one, Rodale helped us set up everything here to the Regenerative Organic standard, and kept us on track. We had a farm manager from Rodale here for the first 3 years, getting everything set up with us and training all of us to steer the ship.
Awesome. I'm thinking about this conversation, and there are like 5 or 7 different like roads I want to go down here.
Same.
Yeah, so I'm having a hard time figuring out like which one I want to go down next. But I guess let's stick to regenerative right now. I do really want to talk about the research studies that you mentioned earlier, but let's start with more of like the on the ground practices. So like, what does the practices look like today on the Pocono farm from like a rotation perspective or a biodiversity perspective? You mentioned there's all sorts of things going on at the same time. Just walk us through what that looks like.
Definitely diversity is number one. I remember the first year when Jeff Katz from Rodale came up, I was like, there's so many songbirds and butterflies all of a sudden in this field. He's because you're bringing back, biodiversity. So it was amazing to watch that transformation happen. So everything from crop rotation to cover cropping, very low till, and of course, using as many on-farm inputs as we can. So we have a 5-acre parcel that we do our own on-site compost program. We do vermiculture with the earthworm castings. And then we are just about to actually get a commercial composting machine here to speed up some of the compostable silverware and plates and stuff that we use at our market on site, a market and cafe, to be able to not have to take them to another commercial composter and do it here on site in 5 days instead of 2 years like out in the field. So we try to utilize as many of those natural resources that are waste to us, but gold to the soil and just so nutrient dense. So those are the main ones that we focus on. And then we're starting to involve animals now. So we got our first chickens last year. So we're getting our feet wet with starting to add some animals into the mix.
And that's a challenge in specialty crops because of the food safety standards. And we have not talked about that on really any episodes. And I don't expect you to be like purely the expert on that, Ashley, but can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think most consumers, if they learn about regenerative, they learn about animal impact, but it's actually a challenge in some of those crops because of the regulation. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just a timing game, really. I think it's 120 days that you can't have any manure from 120 days till it's harvested. So, it's just about timing. So if you're doing a crop rotation, grazing different areas one year and then planting it the next, or doing it pre-season or post-season. So it's all just a big timing game, and it's hard to get into the schedule.
Right. And you mentioned you just got the chickens. Have you been able to incorporate that into any of these most recent schedules? Like, have they been able to fertilize and you've been able to plant on top of that? Like, and I guess, like,
Yes,
have you seen any of the impact yet, the positive impact of having the chickens, or is it still too new?
I think it's still too new, but we do move them around every couple weeks. We move them. They have a little mobile coop. So it's been, I think, about 16 or 17 months that we've had them. So we move them around and try and get them pooping everywhere.
As they should, you know? So it sounds like, incredible practices on the farm, tons of biodiversity. You mentioned nutrient density earlier and like how important that is. Let's talk about some of these research studies. So what is the Rodale Institute researching and what are they finding out of the data that's coming off of your farm?
What's really cool about a lot of the research they do is trying to figure out what is the biggest problems for farmers today, right? And then focus on those problems to figure out solutions that are non-toxic and non-harmful to human health and planetary health. So a lot of our studies have to do with that and improving yield and quality and nutrient density through different methods and techniques. So, with our hemp studies, we're doing different things with spacing and different nitrogen applications, whether it's direct or whether it's in the soil. And so we try all these different methods and then say, hey, okay, which one, had the best yield and quality from the 8 or 10 different treatments that we do. And we replicate them, right? You have to have it 3 years, 3 runs in a row for the white papers. So so it takes a couple of years to gather the data, depending on the crop that we're running it on. But one of the coolest things that Dr. Arash and Dr. Danish from Rodale are working on is powdery mildew is a huge problem for indoor growing for our greenhouses. So we have 380 acres out in the field, but we have 40,000 square feet of greenhouses, and they're 35 feet tall. They're the highest twin peak greenhouses in North America. So powdery mildew can be a problem with them, whether it's for eggplants or tomatoes, whatever it might be. So Dr. Arash and Dr. Danish got a grant to work on a UV light treatment that would kill and prevent the powdery mildew without harming the plant cells, the taste, the yield, the quality. So that's one of the biggest ones that we're involved in right now. And it's really awesome because that's something that so many greenhouse growers have problems with. And there's a lot of chemicals used to prevent it. So if we can reduce that by figuring out a natural way that is not harmful and doesn't compromise the plant, then it's just a win for everybody.
I love that it's not chemical, right? And if it's a light, like you're already probably running lights in that facility. So from an energy consumption, like it's probably not going to increase that much versus we need to produce some chemical, truck it in, store it,
right,
use it on the plants, etc.
And it's only a few minutes of the light. It's not like they're on under there all the time. It's just a few minutes during certain growth periods. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Where did hemp come from? Did the farm bill that like made it more accessible, was that just like, hey, let's take advantage of this market opportunity? Was it a part of your healing journey? Like, where did the hemp and CBD come into all this?
It was part of my healing journey for sure. So I have about 30 medicine allergies. So I try to stay away from a lot of the chemical-based pharmaceuticals. So on my journey, I would take okra pills for heartburn and just go back to old plant medicine of what our grandparents used to use, when there wasn't these chemicals and made by the pharmaceutical companies. So, I had tried CBD when it first came out, and back then you could only get it in Colorado, and I started making tinctures myself in my crock pot in my bathtub and straining it out, and it was magic for my stomach. For me, a lot of my symptoms and problems were nausea and vomiting, especially in the morning. It was just like I had morning sickness all the time. So
brutal.
It would just chill everything out. I mean, any of the nausea medications I would take would really have a lot of side effects for me. I would have trouble seeing for a week. Like I wouldn't be able to read my phone or drive. Everything was blurry. So I didn't want to take any of them. And here's this plant-based tincture that I put a couple drops under my tongue, and within 10, 15 minutes, I'm not sick anymore of or super nauseous, and I actually get hungry to eat some crackers and a smoothie.
Yeah.
But back then there wasn't any testing, right? There really wasn't. Everybody knew the hemp plant was a great bioaccumulator, right? To clean up contaminants from sites, and that it had that power. But you want to make sure that's not the plant that you're consuming. You
Right.
want to make
Right.
the cool hemp plastic picnic table out of that hemp plant,
Yeah.
not consume it. So I wanted to produce the cleanest and safest and highest quality hemp that I could. Uh, we've had this land for 100 years. We know what's happened. We know the history of it. So to be
Mm.
able to have that clean land that was never treated and be able to grow these beautiful hemp plants and make a hemp-based medicine. Our first year, we actually were under Rodale's research permit. It was before the actual real permits came out.
Oh, wow.
So we were
Interesting.
kind of ahead of that curve. It was already in our
Yeah.
plan before, everybody else jumped on it.
That's
That's
cool.
really interesting. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into the hemp side. You mentioned I think you nanoparticles
hmm
previously. Tell us about the development of that technology and why that's so important, having the water soluble versus, non-nanoparticle CBD.
Yeah.
So for the tinctures, for example, most of the ones you guys are familiar with is a hemp extract, a crude extract, whether it's made with ethanol or CO2 extraction, and then it's mixed with some kind of oil, MCT oil, olive oil. Well, those can take, 45 minutes to an hour for you to digest and it to get into your bloodstream.
Mm.
So, if you're nauseous like me, I don't really have an hour to wait.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't really know what dosage you're getting, right? What are you actually absorbing from that? What is your stomach acid killing off? What's your metabolism like that day? What did you eat that day? All of those then come into play of how much am I actually absorbing of this.
Right.
Now, the nanoparticle technology, it's wild. It's not new technology by any means. It's been used in the nutraceutical world and the vaccine industry for decades. Hasn't really been utilized too much in cannabis. It's expensive. It's hard to do,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as the organic side of it, many that you see out there are not organic. There's a lot of
Mm.
emulsifiers and um, chemicals that are added to it, like polysorbates and things like that, that I just, don't want in my body. So,
Mm-hmm.
my husband happens to know everybody and introduced me to an old friend of his out in Oregon that made a organic nanoparticle. And so we linked up with him and collaborated
Wow.
with him and got the ball rolling on it. And the moment I started taking it with my stomach, I'm like, this is our future of what I want to be producing.
Wow.
So we actually discontinued like our MCT oil tincture because we were selling so many more of the nanoparticle ones. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we have organic certification on it. We got that last year. We have that lab on site. So we make different nanoparticle milks, which is what goes into the tinctures. And then we do an infused sugar that goes into the bath bombs, and then the monk fruit sugar that can be added to any food or drink. And monk fruit just has the lowest glycemic index. So that's why we chose that. But water soluble is, it can be added to any food or drink. Now people add the oils to their drinks and coffee and stuff, but it's going to be a blob on top, it's never going to
Mm.
mix in. But with
Right.
the nano, it mixes right into any food or drink. So if
Mm.
grandma has Alzheimer's and doesn't like the taste of a tincture, you can mix it into her tea or whatever it might be. So I think a lot of people, you need creative ways of consumption. Some people don't like tinctures, some people don't like edibles. So to be able to have a
But
diverse
everybody
kind of
likes
offering,
marshmallows,
I
So
think everybody just likes
so you
marshmallows.
got to get the marshmallow game
Instant.
rolling. Well,
Yeah.
and I think that you've got brownies, pancakes, and a few other very common
Yeah.
who doesn't not like those foods, right? That you sell on the website.
And we have the bake at home pancakes and brownies, which we figured out a way to do a high heat withstanding dry powder ingredient to be able to add to those where people can bake them at home. So maybe you had too many margaritas on a Saturday night, you can have some CBD pancakes Sunday morning to calm your stomach down.
So
I've
we've talked a
definitely
bit
needed those
about
from time to time.
Anthony's gonna be the number one, pancake buyer. But so we've talked a little bit about some of the benefits of CBD, and I'd like to kind of like hone in on this a little bit. Anthony mentioned he sleeps great. You've mentioned anti-nausea a couple of times. CBD to me is one of those like compounds that seems to do a little bit of everything. Let's dive in a little bit more and tell us like what are the benefits of CBD and why do you feel like it's such an important additive to these foods, and how do you think it can help people the most?
I think it's just an amazing plant, and people are astonished by all the versatile uses, right, of how it can help so many people with different issues. And we have this endocannabinoid system in our body. We have these receptors, um, and it was always part of our diets for centuries, right? The animals would eat hemp, we'd eat the animals. It was just part of our diets. And then for 70 years, here's this molecule that's been lacking of our body systems. And then people take it for the first time, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Well, no, it's like meant to be in your body, and
Yeah.
it I always describe it as it regulates all of your body systems, right? So whether it's reducing inflammation, and that has a million ripple effects of what inflammation does to
Mm-hmm.
people's bodies. Whether
Hmm.
it helps, me with my nausea, or people with anxiety, just being able to relax and without taking a pharmaceutical or alcohol or whatever to relax. Um, so my main mission was if I could replace one pill that somebody's taking a day with
Right.
CBD, at least that's a win, to just use more of a safe plant-based option. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
the people that say, well, CBD didn't work for me, I think they unfortunately maybe just got a bad quality product. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
bad
Yeah.
quality products, and lately, they've been kind of disappearing, and more good quality CBD brands are still standing and well represented and doing the right things, growing things the right way and manufacturing the right way. But I think just finding a high quality, you know, uh, CBD product can help so many people with different things. I mean, anything from
Mm-hmm.
putting topicals on neuropathy on your feet to bug bites and burns. I mean, it's just amazing. I have horrible hand eczema. In the winter times, my hands bleed. Ever since I started using CBD
Wow.
cream, it's completely gone, like not even existent
Wow.
anymore.
Wow.
So I think it's so versatile, and just I can't wait to see it just in a multivitamin. I feel like everybody should just be taking
Mm.
it every day and have it in your body
Mm.
system, because you have that endocannabinoid system that produces it on its own. Sometimes you just have to prime the pump and get it to kind of
Mm-hmm.
wake up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's super interesting. I am one of
Yeah.
those people who my first experience with CBD tincture, or think I tried a tincture and a rub after a knee surgery, and neither seemed to do anything for me. And maybe, I'm one of those who just had a bad batch. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
really, I know a lot of people. My mom had breast cancer, and had really bad neuropathy in her hands because of the chemo treatments. And she said like a CBD tincture was the only thing that could provide her any sort of
Mm.
relief. So there's all sorts of different spectrums, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the industry I work in, bone broth, like highly regulated when compared to the hemp industry. But there's still, even though we're super regulated, there are a lot of bone broth companies who don't even put real bones in their product. So to me, like,
Mm.
and that's well regulated. When I think about hemp, like, and the potential for people to make claims that are not substantiated and using low quality either product or manufacturing practices or who knows what else, like the variability of
Mm-hmm.
people's experiences must be all over the place. So curious to get your take on, you mentioned that there are more high quality products coming out. You're like, what does the regulation look like today? How are people substantiating claims? Are there any third party certifiers out there to say this is legit, this is not legit? What's that landscape look like?
Yeah, I think certifications are definitely great. We have USDA or certified organic. We are the first regenerative organic certified hemp in the world. We also have a real organic project that we're certified with. But I think the biggest reason I think of why the cream's kind of rising to the top is just the reduction in hemp acreage. So the first year,
Mm.
Mm.
2019, the first planting
Mm-hmm.
year after the Farm Bill came out, we're to this year, we're down 80% in CBD hemp acreage
Wow.
Yeah.
planted.
A
So
lot of get
all
rich
those
quick
people,
schemes that didn't go well.
and so many farmers just with barns full of
Yeah.
biomass. It's really
Yeah.
sad. Everybody went too big without having the supply chain set up, and
Mm.
so I think that's why you see now the high quality and the really good brands, are still
Mm-hmm.
standing and doing really well, and some of the weird gas station kind of ones are dwindling off a little bit. So
Right.
I think it's all about people picking a high quality version, and knowing about
Mm-hmm.
the farm. There's so many CBD companies that don't even know the name of the farm that their extract
Yeah.
comes from. They might just order, a jar of extract and make their products from that. They don't know what the land looked like, how was it handled, how was it stored, so many important things. And when
Mm.
I saw how the industry kind of was with that, that made it so much more important to me to become vertically integrated. So as much as that
Mm.
we can do on site, we do on site ourselves so that we have that really clear chain of custody with our product, knowing that
Mm-hmm.
we're going to offer a consistent product, to our consumers, and 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 we're purists. I'm a purist. I'm not doing any kind of crazy isolates or anything like that. I believe in
Mm-hmm.
the full plant, the power of the entire plant.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like ethanol extraction is the best for it. I think it's like hemp moonshine, and the alcohol really sucks out all those great medicinal properties throughout the whole plant, and then being able to mix that in different forms for people.
How how vertically integrated are you, Ashley? Is every finished product that y'all sell with CBD in it, you produce all the way in house, or you do like the nanoparticle ingredient and then you produce like the main ingredient, like the main finished products with that ingredient somewhere else? Like what does that actually look like?
So we grow it, we dry it. The only thing that we don't do on site is the ethanol extraction because you need explosion proof room for that. So we have a great, yeah, I
Which
didn't want
the
to go down
greenhouse
that
probably
route.
doesn't
Yeah,
satisfy that need.
let someone else do that.
So
Right.
we outsource that. So we bring 1,000 pounds at a time to a third party organic processor in New York. He's about 80 miles away from us.
Mm.
And so we bring 1,000 pounds at a time up to him. We just drive it up, and then we pick up the crude oil and bring it back here and make
Wow.
all of our products from that. So and then we have a formulation lab. We have our R&D lab. So all the recipes are made here and tested, packaged, and shipped out all from here. So the extraction's the only
Wow.
part that we don't do, but we do have the nanoparticle lab on site. That is here in our facility.
So that
Incredible.
happens after you get it back from the person in New York. You
Hmm.
nanoparticleize it or whatever the right term is, and then it goes
Yep.
into the finished goods. Okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
So tell us a little bit more about like the brand store. We've talked a lot about, the CBD
Yeah.
products, how your products are different. How are you communicating that story effectively to consumers? And, what does it look like from a retail distribution perspective today? We, based on my understanding of the hemp industry, it's still kind of the wild, wild west. There are some retailers who might be okay with some CBD claims, some of them who don't want to touch it at all. Tell
Yeah.
us, like, how are you navigating those waters?
And the retail side is definitely hard. You have to definitely be very careful with claims for sure. But a lot of the big box stores are staying away from ingestibles and just using topicals until the FDA,
Mm-hmm.
well, they're all hoping for the FDA to make some, guidelines for that, but that's been delayed, of course, yet again. So a lot of the big box stores are staying away from ingestibles and just focusing on
Mm-hmm.
the topicals. And then, of course, you have Amazon and social media where all kinds of CBD triggers, algorithms, block you, and you can't get out there. So going direct to consumer is difficult, and the retailer space is difficult as well. But going with those smaller mom and pop stores, I feel like CBD can be in 90% of Main Street USA stores, whether it's a
Mm-hmm.
bicycle shop to a surf shop to a spa to the natural
Mm-hmm.
grocer. I mean, so many places are relevant to buy your CBD products. So I think
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
that's, interesting with the products itself, that they're so versatile and where they can be sold, and also selling, to different juice companies and smoothie shops and cafes for them, bakeries, all of that for them to to infuse in their own products as
Mm.
well, is a whole nother side of it. That's that's a lot of fun as well. So, but education is the key. That is the key to hemp. That is the key to regenerative organic agriculture, teaching people. And how can you teach people without preaching to them is by giving them
Mm.
experiences. So
Mm.
Mm.
our farm here is a 70,000 square foot facility. We are open to the public. We have a cafe run by a Chop Champion Chef Lindsay
Yes.
McLean, who's unbelievable in everything that she makes. It's a scratch kitchen. Everything is amazing. Everything is organic or regenerative organic that she makes, and everything that we sell at the market as well. And we have a zero waste policy. So anything that's a number two or bruised or ugly, she'll turn into jams and salsas and value added
Mm.
products that we sell here at our market. And then the rest would go into our compost. So being able to bring people in to the cafe, to the market. We have a classroom, so she'll do cooking classes for kids and adults. We have a
Wow.
clean food, clean food, dirty hands program was like the one that was near and dear to my heart.
Nice.
So for
Yeah.
kids to teach them how to plant, how to harvest, how to tend after, tend for the plants and weed and then all the way through harvest and then learning how to prepare the food with Chef Lindsay. So we have these programs weekly here for the kids, different crafts, different activities, but teaching them at an early age so they don't have to wait until they have a diagnosis like us, right, to make changes to
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
their life. When do people finally make a change? Either you get pregnant and you read in the book, don't eat pesticides, or
Mm.
you get a diagnosis and then they say, don't eat pesticides. Well, like, why are we
Yeah.
doing that to be preventative? Like, what's wrong with this?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
trying to give people experiences where they can taste the best Mexican street corn they've ever had or the best tomato because it's number one, fresh. It's not been sitting on a truck for days and days and at a distribution center. It was probably harvested the day before they're actually eating it. The shelf life is longer for our consumers to bring home then, and
Mm.
it has more nutrients, right? I mean, all these research studies are finally coming out now showing that regenerative organic agriculture is producing more nutrient dense food than conventional, which is awesome, which is awesome.
Mm.
It's great
Mm.
for all of us. And we're taking care of the soil and sequestering carbon all at the same time. So it's just really a win-win for everybody. So between our classes that we have on site and our crazy events we do, I mean, we have the Funny Farm comedy show in the summers, where we have some New York comedian friends that come out and do some comedy shows and
So cool.
weddings and corporate events and team building and yoga retreats and compost classes. I mean, everything that we can think of, we just we just do. We schedule
Yeah.
it, we do it. We have an on-site herbalist now, so she's planning a whole bunch of classes to do one class a month, and
Wow.
so just fun things like this. And as our staff comes to us with ideas, we encourage them to send us ideas to the think tank email of ideas for innovation, for classes, for blogs, that they might want to see or things that might interest them. So really trying to get everybody engaged with what their passions are. And then when people come in and visit us, that passion, they see that passion and it can be contagious. And we want them to be inspired to make a change in their
Mm-hmm.
corner of the world. Like, this is what we're doing in our town to try and make it better for the world and better for our community. And we hope other people can, whether it's just doing a one plant in their windowsill in a New York City
Yeah.
apartment, whatever it might be, to encourage them to get back in touch with nature and to get their hands dirty and see the process and feel the process and taste the difference. And it makes a big difference in people's lives, giving them these emotional souvenirs, we call them, right? Where you can't really
Mm.
preach at people. You get a much better response by giving them an experience that they will
Mm-hmm.
remember and have that emotional souvenir.
I super appreciate everything you just said. Want to add one piece when
Yeah.
you talk about all the data coming out. There's also so much data to prove that regenerative food actually tastes better as well, which is
Mm.
fantastic. The picture you just painted of the Pocono Organics experience makes me feel like I need to take a regenerative pilgrimage to this holy land. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, man, I'm going to be in Philly for Expo East. Like, how far is the farm from Philly? Can I swing it? I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I want to call on, my personal experience with growing food. I'm not a plant person. I'm not good at taking care of plants. Heather and I, my fiance, we just put 4 8x2 raised garden beds in our backyard this year. And I have seen the return of all sorts of life to the area. There are more birds, there are insects, there are predator insects. There is just so much life there. And the level of satisfaction I get out of, if I'm having a bowl for lunch, like a taco style bowl, I'm pulling fresh romaine out of my garden and knowing that was like a growing food 30 minutes before I consumed it. Like the level of satisfaction, knowing that, how it was grown, the level of care that went into it, the lack of pesticides on it, it's just incredible. So the fact that you get to share that experience with so many people and teach them about that power and that impact is incredible. And I think if we can get more people involved in the process of like where food actually comes from, to your point, that's going to do a ton from an educational perspective and empower people to better understand like the impact they can make for the planet, for their own bodies, for the food system, etc. So just really appreciate 100%. Everything you just shared. That was super cool. And really, how far is the farm from Philly?
Hour and a half, and we're having a big dinner on Tuesday night for ROC. All the brands and farms come together. So I'll send you the info on it.
I'm gonna see if I can get there. That'd be incredible.
And we have a hotel next door with 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So we do a lot of agritourism. So when we have yoga retreats or corporate events, they all stay at the hotel and just walk right over here to the farm.
Kyle's ass is sleeping on a cot in the greenhouse. He's not sleeping in a hotel, Ashley.
I'll sleep on a stack of hay in the barn, man. Whatever works.
I want to clarify one thing for myself and the audience, Ashley, which is there's all this amazing agritourism, local regional food system work, the more the fresh produce kind of commodity work. And then there's the CBD line, which is desiring to be a regional and or a national kind of CPG brand. And my assumption is there's probably things in the product innovation pipeline that are also coming down that pipeline. I'm looking at my other screen at this Shuby Water sparkling CBD infused drink, which makes me think of Wooderson from Days of Confused. But is that the aspiration on the CBD side, to be kind of a prominent national, really, I would say, standard bearer for regenerative organic in hemp and CBD? And what's coming, like, from a product perspective? You guys are already doing a ton, but just curious there.
Absolutely. So I like figuring out new ways for consumption. I'm not good with edibles because I have delayed digestion with my stomach. So my edible won't hit me for 4 hours, and that doesn't help me. Wow. So that's why I like the nanoparticle, because it's a very fast reaction. So putting it into the seltzer. So we did that collaboration with the Other Half Brewery. They're a famous microbrewery out of New York, and they have locations all up and down the East Coast. And we know one of the founders. So we've been working on this collaboration for about a year and got it all dialed in. So we started on small scale with their best-selling all citrus seltzer. Of course, we didn't put the alcohol in, and we put the CBD in. Instead. And it was we did a small run. We're like, okay, let's see how it sells, if people like it. And if it goes well, then we'll do a big run and go more regional and hopefully national with it. So it's been wonderful. Everybody loves it. I'm loving it. When I'm feeding my son dinner, I'm having one of those to relax and not having a glass of wine. I'm just having the CBD infused seltzer, and it's a beautiful color and refreshing. So trying to come up with those new ways of consumption, and like the marshmallow, I can suck on that and I'm going to absorb it right away. And it doesn't really have to be digested. So just thinking of different things out there. But we're crazy here. We're always experimenting with all kinds of ideas. Sometimes I think my staff loves me. Sometimes they hate me. But we have a lot of fun, being vertically integrated and not being at the mercy of a co-packer. If you go to a co-packer, it's a minimum of 10,000 units. We're like, we don't even know if anybody's going to like this marshmallow, right? And so here, the beauty of it is trying something we want to do, selling it in the market, see how everybody likes it, and then we go to the next steps if it passes all those all those tests. So there's lots of stuff in the R&D pipeline. We've just expanded our pet collection, and that is going to be a couple more products coming out with that, and a lot more edible infusions. These gourmet infused butters. Oh my God,
Mm.
there's like a garlic and herb one. So put it on bread, like garlic bread, or I throw some of my fettuccine Alfredo. It's so good. And then like
Wow.
a sugar and cinnamon one for toast. So just
Oh,
all these,
I'm
yeah.
starving right now. I am starving.
I was just going to say, if anybody that started this podcast not feeling hungry, they're certainly feeling hungry now, no doubt.
So you were saying about like bonfires and stuff. So when we go to different events, we're selling these things. We bring a chef, we bring a flat top, we make the different toasts with the butters on top, and then we have a bonfire pit for people to make s'mores, just to sample some of the new things that we're coming out with.
Pocono knows how to party. You guys speak my language. I'm not about, the alcohol party life. I'm more about like, can I get some really awesome food in me? And this feels like you're speaking my language. This is kind of a sidebar. Anthony hates it when I do this. But you mentioned
Why do you
guys are
that?
crazy.
He always says that. I don't, for the record, for the regular listeners.
You mentioned you're all crazy. You like to try to do different things. What are some of the wackiest ideas you've tried from like a product R&D perspective? And they could be things that like fell flat on their face, like that was a terrible idea. But I'm just curious, like what have you tried?
Well, the one that is coming to fruition, there's two that are coming to fruition in the next few months. They're in their final R&D stages. But we linked up with a textile company that does a lot of military contracts, and particularly socks. And we made a CBD-infused sock to help people with neuropathy.
This is not at all the route I thought you were going to be going, and my mind is blown. So CBD-infused sock.
So when I talk about coming up with different ways of consumption, like that to me is another form of consumption. You're putting a sock on and absorbing it through the skin.
Does it like lose the CBD after a couple wears? Like what happens when you wash it? Like I have so many questions.
So it's a one-time use sock.
So there's an amazing Harvard and MIT scientist that has been working with us on this, and he's actually encapsulated it so it's slow release. It's in wash testing right now, but it looks like it's going to last 30 washes. But with like the prototype I got, I don't really wash it that often, like I'm wearing it at home after I take a shower and I'm like lounging. I have my slippers on. I'm not running a marathon with them on,
right.
You
might want to though.
Yeah.
Somebody might want to.
Interesting.
So it's been unbelievable. We've given a lot of prototypes out to various people. A friend of ours that lost his leg, amputees, to people with neuropathy from diabetes and other things. So it's been a really great response. We've done an academic review of it with Jefferson University that we're hoping will turn into a clinical trial. We're going to be going into production on them very soon once the wash testing is officially complete. And we're starting with the socks, but then we're going to do gloves and like ace bandage material as well. And I couldn't believe they work as well as they do. I mean, 15, 20 minutes after wearing it, it's crazy how much better you feel. I'd show them to you right now, but I gave them to my best friend's mom for her neuropathy on her feet. So they're helping her. But, they're not going to be that expensive. They're going to be very reasonable. I like to make CBD accessible to everybody. I don't think that it should be crazy priced by any means. I think it should be part of people's lives. So, it will be inexpensive enough that after your 30 washes, hey, you just have a really nice pair of socks,
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. And, AC, go ahead.
I'm picturing myself in a custom-sized CBD-infused bodysuit for recovery, and I need that so bad. That might be the greatest Regen Brands content of all time.
Get CBD Snuggie.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh, man.
But real talk, for I've been through chemo, and I understand how difficult neuropathy can be. And for those who aren't super familiar with neuropathy, what that feels like, you have hypersensitivity to cold in particular, at least was my experience, to the point where I'd have to keep gloves on my fridge. If I was going to reach in and grab something cold, it feels like an electric shock. So I can only imagine the amount of potential help this can have for people in that situation, you know, and the socks too, it tends to be hand and feet, or at least for me and most of the people I know who have been through that. So, I mean, what started to me as like a hilarious, this is like just a funny product innovation, is really like, could be life-changing for people who are going through these sorts of, you know, treatments for years on end, you know? So I am super pumped and hope that they can get access to these things sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And there's not many options for people. Like when you were going through that, and I've had family members going through that, there's not many options of, hey, doc, what should I do about this? There's not a lot of solutions. So at least this is a non-toxic, plant-based answer.
Yeah, and the solutions they want to give you is, hey, take another pill. And it's like, man, that's the last thing I want to do at this time of year. I used to go to bed, I'd put lotion on my hands, like a I think it was Badger hand balm, with cotton gloves, just so my hands would be somewhat recovered by the next morning. You know, so to have an option like this, like it can truly be life-changing for people in that situation. So I'm just super psyched about that type of innovation. And again, what I asked is like sort of a joke of a question, really. Like it really feels like something that is super, super empowering for those people. So I'm just psyched about the innovation you're doing there. And originally I was really curious, like, why would the military be interested in this? But based on your answer, it sounds like more for the amputee and people with like serious injuries. Is that correct?
The VA.
That's definitely part of it. So I definitely want to, you know, take care of people like our farm workers that are on their feet all day, and Chef Lindsay who's on her feet all day, and people that are just having everyday pain. But my grandpa had diabetes and, you know, had toes cut off and had that neuropathy in his feet. And we all know people that have had it, right? So to be able to give them a relief, but then also a very good friend of ours, you know, is an amputee, and I send him everything to test with him and his girlfriend, and get feedback on them, you know, and so we've definitely been exploring the amputee route, you know, whether it's veterans, whether it's people with health conditions, whatever it might be, you know, as a liner, as a sock before they put on their prosthetic limbs. It's become helpful with some of them with phantom limb pain and reducing some of the nerve pain and the everyday stuff, and just like friction and irritation that they get from, you know, their different prosthetics that they utilize. So to be able to help them and to help the vets too, you know, that have given so much to us. We have a veteran training program here with Rodale. Rodale started it years ago, where it was a 4-month program where vets will go live at Rodale for 4 months and learn how to farm and take that back to their communities. But we expanded that program here. So that was our first building that was done, was a 5-bedroom veteran house. So after they're done at Rodale, they come here for 8 more months. They have a full year. They learn indoor and outdoor. And they can stay with us, or they can, you know, go on and open their own farms or do whatever they like. So we have a couple veterans that are still here, living at the house. Really cool. And one of them developed our mushroom program. It's something he was really passionate about, and developed the mushroom program that we do. So, so the vets and the kids are definitely sweet and dear to our heart, and we want to make sure that we give back as much as we can.
Man, Ashley, is there anything you're not doing? It sounds like you've got programs for like
sleeping, not sleeping too much.
Yeah, crazy. Just super cool, the level of passion and enthusiasm and who you're choosing to share this with. I mean, it sounds like you really want to share this with everybody, but there are particular demographics you're focusing on. I think that's really admirable work that you're doing. I do kind of want to pivot, and I think we already. Oh, go ahead, AC.
Hold on. I have a question right off that specific demographic. That's just a curiosity. The racetrack, the raceway. When I think of the NASCAR demographic and regenerative organic CBD products, or just regenerative organic, that seems like a small sliver of an overlapping Venn diagram. Are you selling any of the products at the racetrack? And if so, how has that been, if you have?
So it's a really unique situation, right? So talking about educating people through experiences and emotional souvenirs. So that's what we use the racetrack for, right? To amplify our message to a greater audience. I mean, we have 250,000 people that come through our doors every year. to the racetrack. And
Crazy.
now this is our NASCAR race weekend. So people are coming in campers today and staying till Monday. That's 5 days that they're camping for.
Right.
Like, how many
Wow.
corn dogs and hot dogs can you really eat in that time? So you'd be amazed of the setups that people have at their campsites of things that they're cooking. So we have come up with a solution for every single guest that we have on site. So if you're camping in the infield, we have a stationary farmers market out there where the concert stage is, that's open all day and night. And then we have a roaming farmers market. We got a beverage cart from a golf course.
Sorry, hold on. Did you say all day and all night? This is a 24/7 regenerative market in the middle of a NASCAR infield.
Till like 11 o'clock at night when the concert is winding
Oh my
down.
gosh, this is
That
wild.
is awesome.
So we sell veggies, we sell shubi water, we sell the marshmallows, we sell CBD products, everything from
really
those
cool.
2 locations. And a lot of people won't leave their campsite, so that's why we have the little roaming farmers market. But then we also have it in our concession stands, and then we have a regenerative organic corporate suite menu. So like all the corporate suites that come in get catering.
Wow.
So last year we've had the same family caterer for 40 years. He just retired last year. So Chef Lindsay and the Pocono Organics team has taken over all of the cooking for the racetrack.
Wow.
So we're talking
that's
like
that's big. That's a lot.
We got like 80,000 people to feed this weekend, you know?
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
I mean, I love sports, and I've never thought that I want to be in the suite at a NASCAR event before, but suddenly that has become a priority of mine because I feel like that menu experience and just the quality of food for a sporting event, that is like, incomparable to just about every other option out there. So,
so at least there's options for people, like there's still your corn dogs and, your regular sports food, but there's also options, if you want fresh organic food. And, it's actually not as crazy as a mixture as people think, because 76% of NASCAR fans think they can do something to give back to the environment and want to support brands that do. 76%. Okay.
Wow.
So
Crazy.
you have
That's
farmers
really cool.
that are fans.
Yeah.
You have fishermen, you have hunters, you have gardeners, you have all kinds of people, and they care about the environment. Unfortunately, yes, the racing is not great for the environment, but my dream, and like I said, I'm crazy about things, but maybe one day these cars will be running on hemp fuel and it'll be a whole different scenario, right?
Yeah.
So that's, we're using it to promote a message of good and trying to get people to experience it and incorporate it into their lives in some way.
Yeah, that's super cool. So I got 2 things. The personal connections are uncanny today. So Bobby and Donnie Allison are actually like my distant relatives. So that's my NASCAR connection. And I'm officially volunteering for the race next year to drive the mobile farm, the mobile farm stand. I need the Pocono Organics polo, the hat. I need to be outfitted. I want to be driving that thing, and I want to set record sales numbers for the weekend.
I think we turned that into a Regen podcast episode. I'm in. Count me in. It's free on camera.
I love it.
Right on. Well, I know we've already talked quite a bit about future innovation. We talked about the future of NASCAR running on hemp fuel. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that is like coming down the pike for Pocono Organics? Whether that be like product innovation, whether that be like, is the size of the farm going to change at any point in time? Are you planning to get more acreage? Like, what does the future hold that we haven't already touched on?
So there is one more product innovation that I'll tell you here in a minute, but it's for the future plan. So, we only grow right now maybe a third of our acreage and the rest is cover crop because we're a new farm. We're 5 years in. We're still a startup, so we're scaling up and having to get equipment for every kind of crop is hard being a diverse farm. Yes. So I will be scaling up our acreage, as we go here little by little. But a majority of our acreage, hopefully one day, will be hemp fiber production. And I really want to put a hemp fiber processing facility on site. So we've been really working hard and collaborating with different groups to be able to make that happen on our land and grow the hemp here and process it here to then make it into hurd that can go to construction materials and bioplastics and paper, and then the The
Wow.
fiber, the outside, goes to the textile industry. And then the biochar, which is kind of the waste left over, can be used for farmers, a great input for the land. So that's the grand plan down the line, is to be doing the hemp fiber processing and all the things that come with that. But in the meantime, so my husband was a pro surfer for 25 years. We've been
Wow.
to we've we've been to Bali. We've been a lot of places with the plastic crisis in the water. And I think people
Yeah.
don't really
Mm.
realize that it's serious and that it's coming for us, and what it's like in some other countries, and what our
Mm-hmm.
future holds with our plastic consumption and the disposal of it. And I forget who came out with the saying, but there's supposed to be more plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050.
Right.
There was that stat from somewhere, but I'm sure with COVID and all the single use, I'm sure that's going to be
Jesus.
sooner than 2050.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, so we've been working with Jefferson University. We had a Pennsylvania Manufacturing Innovation Grant with them to make a hemp bioplastic that's compostable.
Wow. Wow.
So
Super cool.
we have finally are like a month away from the first prototypes being made. So they've been
Ooh.
mixing it with different polymers and figuring out the right mixture, and density and use for different applications. So the two that we're going for first is, I wanted to focus on things for food service, whether it's something that we can
Mm-hmm.
use on farm or at the market and cafe. So the first things
Mm-hmm.
that'll be coming down the line is a hemp plastic cup and a bowl. Um, and if it goes well, then we'll put those manufacturing capabilities on site with the processing plant for the hemp. So it would be grown here, processed here, and products made here.
Wow.
All vertically integrated with like no carbon footprint of transportation anywhere.
Incredible.
Um, and then we already have a market for the cups and bowls, being able to use it in our cafe and then at the racetrack as well. So imagine, every cup of
Wow.
Mm.
beer, soda, or water that's sold
Wow.
over a weekend uses our cup.
Oh.
But that's also why we got the commercial composting machine, because then
Yeah.
once
Mm-hmm.
those cups get disposed of in the proper receptacle, right?
Right.
Because there's so much compostable products that just they don't break
Don't make
down
it
very
back.
easily. Like, they are
Mm-hmm.
plant-based and stuff, but some of them just don't break down easily. So to be able to have a commercial composting facility on site and bring that waste right back over here to then make compost that's going to go back on the field to grow more hemp, it's just this awesome closed
Yeah.
loop, solving
Right.
problems that we have and trying to be, as sustainable as we can in new and different ways.
Mm.
Totally, and I'm
That's
struck by,
yeah.
I can't help but think of Amazon when you talk about this, and Amazon typically gets a bad rep, but from a business strategic perspective, they have this mantra like be your own best customer, and it really
Yep.
feels like that's sort of what Pocono is embodying because of its unique position and relationship with the racetrack, and it's really great to see like it's so hard to do regen, and I feel like it's so often like the regenerative founders and entrepreneurs are in such a disadvantaged position generally speaking just because of the way
Mm.
our economic system works and the lack
Mm.
of education around that type of food. It's really cool to see that the position you're in and the fact that you're taking full advantage of it in the best way possible to make the best possible impact for planet, people, food, etc. So just really really
Mm.
psyched to hear all the stuff that you've got coming down the pipeline. Good for you, good for
Mm.
Pocono Organics. Just a
Thank
really
you.
great
Good
We've
for the
story.
world. Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
done a lot in 5 years, so we'll keep
Yeah.
on trucking.
That's
Incredible.
incredible. And we're looking forward to episode 2, going even deeper on the bioplastics front when you have more to share there and all the other things. But to take us home, Ashley, the final question that we asked everybody is, how do we get Regen Brands to have 50% market share by 2050? What do we need to do?
We definitely need more farmers to get on board. I think the
Mm.
amount of calls I get every week from different ROC brands that are looking for ingredients is crazy. So we definitely need
Mm.
to get as many farms on board, and I think that really helped with like the USDA certified organic program, right? When they started doing cost share programs for
Mm-hmm.
the certification and teaching people about the paperwork and making them not scared of it. I think a lot of farmers
Mm-hmm.
are intimidated by the paperwork. So we try to be a resource to help them through that. Anybody that needs help, and that's part of what we do with the Regional Resource Center as well with Rodale, is just trying to educate the farmer too that, hey, this isn't as hard as you think it is to complete. And I think the industry is really coming along every year at Expo, and more and more people coming together for collaborations, because we is greater than me, and the more of us going, together to push this movement forward is better. And I think we're going to get there. Look at USDA certified organic. It was slow in the beginning, right? But then it gains speed. And I think with the more research and all these climate smart grants and the research that's being done of the carbon sequestering abilities of the hemp plant and regenerative agriculture, I think it's just going to inspire more investors and family offices and companies to invest in companies like ours, and to get their ingredients from people that are doing things right and treating the environment right. So I think we're going to get there.
No doubt we're going to try.
That's right. And it's because of the work you guys do. I mean, you guys are so great at sharing everybody's stories and connecting so many people, that you guys are educating, with every show that you do. And that's what we need. More people out there talking and educating. We're all teachers at this point.
Yeah. We appreciate that. Y'all are doing the real work and the hard work. We are just the people that get to be a megaphone for it. But yeah, it's
and eat
fun,
the marshmallows.
We appreciate it. Yeah, and eat the marshmallows. Ashley, this was phenomenal. This was so fun and informative. Thank you so much for making the time during this really, really busy season for y'all, and just you personally. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks so much to you guys. I really appreciate you having me on, and look forward to seeing you guys when you come out to visit.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. Looking forward to that trip so much.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks, you guys.
For show notes, episode transcripts, and more information on our guests and what we discuss on the show, check out our website, regen-brands.com. That is regen-brands.com. You can also find our Regen recaps on the website. Regen recaps take less than 5 minutes to read and cover all the key points of the full hour-long conversations. You can check out our YouTube channel, Regen Brands Podcast, for all of our episodes with both video and audio. The best way to support our work is to give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform, subscribe to future episodes, and share the show with your friends. Thanks for tuning in to the Regen Brands Podcast, brought to you by the Regen Coalition and Outlaw Ventures. We hope you learned something new in this episode, and it empowers you to use your voice, your time, and your dollars to help us build a better and more regenerative food system. Love you guys.